Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Mr. Sunil Sharma.
Right. Good afternoon, everyone. Sunil here. I'm the Managing Director of TechStars in Toronto, Canada, and I think you've heard that we are going to be hosting Collision next year in Toronto on May 20th to 23rd, so we look forward to seeing you there. This is, again, the Growth Summit and the Growth Stage, and I get to do this for the second time today. This is where we identify some incredibly fast-growing companies, and we had 3 incredibly fast-growing companies this morning, but the 3 that you're going to meet tonight, or this afternoon, are truly next level. So we're going to start right away with 3 CEOs. They're going to introduce themselves to you and tell you a little bit about themselves, and then we're just going to go to some questions and answers in a panel format. So first up, the co-founder of Roofstock, Mr. Gary Beasley.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gary Beasley. I am the co-founder and CEO of Roofstock. Just quickly about myself, this is my 3rd real estate startup. My first one was Zip Realty. I was there early as the CFO of that business, and we took that public in 2004. And then most recently, I was involved in the single-family rental business where we bought about $1 billion worth of houses and ended up forming a public vehicle and took that public in 2013, 2014 timeframe. So it's my 3rd one. I left running a public REIT to start Roofstock, really with a vision of democratizing real estate investing. So if you think, a simple way to describe what we're doing at Roofstock is sort of Amazon for houses, so for rental houses. So what we have on our site, if you go to Roofstock, you'll see we have hundreds of homes that already have tenants in them. So you buy it much like any other investment. You buy it for the income and the appreciation potential of the home. So we certify the home itself, we certify the tenant, and we certify local property managers that will manage it for you. So really the goal is to separate operations from investing. So you could be sitting here buying homes in Las Vegas or Miami with confidence, because you sort of think about it, it's almost like real estate investing as a service. So think about Roofstock as sort of the cloud for real estate investing. And so the company, we founded it 3 years ago, almost to the day, and launched our marketplace at the beginning of 2016. So we've had some pretty good growth. We sold about 40 million of homes through this site in our first year, which was 2016, and then last year we were just under $1 billion of properties sold. So really getting some good traction, a real mix of institutional and retail business, and we could talk about that a little bit. So that's it.
Yeah, that's great. Okay. Thanks very much, Gary. Yeah, you sit right there. And so now we have George Arison, who is the founder and co-CEO of Shift. George.
Thank you for coming and having me here. So my name is George. I run a company called Shift, which is a way to buy and sell a car. Most everybody probably has bought a car at some point in their lives, and it was a horrible experience, I'm guessing. If you got a loan, you probably spent 3 to 4 hours guaranteed waiting for your financing to get done before you purchased your vehicle. It's after you decided what car to buy, and obviously makes absolutely no sense why you would do that. If you're a woman or a minority, you paid more than the white man that walked in to buy that same car because dealers discriminate massively. So we are trying to fix all that and make car purchase and ownership really simple and accessible for everyone. The way we do this is by helping both sellers and buyers. If you are a seller, you come to shift.com or you download our app, you submit your car to us. We price it for you electronically. We have an algorithm that we've built that's extremely accurate at car pricing. And then we give you a car price. If you want to then work with us, we come out to your house or your office, pick up your car, take it away, and you never see that car again. We pay you if you need the money, but we actually give you the option to give the car to us on consignment if you don't need the money, and then we'll sell it for you and give you money after. And obviously, you'll do better financially in the latter option. And then on the buy side, Shift enables you to find the car that you want on our site, click on a button to book a test drive, and then the car actually comes to your house or your office for a test drive, where you're able to apply for financing on your phone or your iPad in the car. get approved, and transact on an iPad device that our driver has with him. About 1 in 3 customers never talk to a salesperson at Shift. They just buy the car all digitally and are done. The slide that you see is about the division of sort of used cars in the country by age and kind of where we focus. There are a couple other companies trying to do something very similar to Shift, but the difference between us and them is that we do an older set of inventory, so really focusing at cars that are 3 years or older. I'm happy to answer questions later.
Okay, thank you very much, George. Okay, finally, Patrick Bosworth is the co-founder and CEO of Duetto. Patrick.
Thank you, Sunil. I stand here?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. Thank you to Collision for having me. My name is Patrick Bosworth. I'm one of the 3 co-founders and the CEO of a company called Duetto. We exclusively serve the global hotel industry. We operate on all 6 continents. We're in, I think the slide will say over 60 countries. I think we're in 70-something now. Like I said, we work exclusively with hotels, and we're helping them deal with the disruption that has impacted many industries that we're familiar with, where new entrants have come in the e-commerce space and are taking value out of the traditional value chain, and we are helping hotels compete more effectively in that modern marketplace. So the logical companies that you would think of are Expedia and Booking.com, but also now Google and Facebook and many others are entering. And we're not B2B2C, but we're B2B2C in the sense of providing better tools to hoteliers and arming them with better data and predictive analytics so that they can make smarter decisions about how to create value for guests when they're exploring where to stay and then ultimately transacting when they make the booking for a hotel stay. And so on average, we drive about 6.5% to 8.5% increases in revenue for the hotel companies within 6 months of them going live, which leads to about a 30% increase in profit for the hotel within 6 months. That's about it, and I'll answer questions on the panel.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Patrick. Gary, just starting with you. Gary said something kind of astounding during his introduction. Launched in 2016, did $40 million of GMV revenue. 2017, $1 billion. Arguably the fastest growing tech company, that I've ever heard of. Can you just comment about whether those numbers are, how to make sense of that kind of growth?
Well, one of the reasons I was so interested in this space is the real estate market is so big. So while we did do $1 billion of transaction volume, that was only 4,300 homes out of the million investor trades a year in houses. So when you think about the single-family rental opportunity, it's really underserved by the traditional real estate brokerage market. So, there's still a lot of room for growth. But yeah, it was heady growth. The wheels were rattling a little bit. So we could all talk about the operational challenges of growing businesses that quickly. But there's real market opportunities, and there's also a bit of a land grab opportunity when you're starting these marketplaces. So we really did that without spending much on marketing, and we could talk about that as well.
Yeah, let's talk about that in a sec. George, with Shift, also, incredible growth. From my understanding is you're now 230 employees. You have offices in different U.S. cities, an office in your home country of Georgia. But your launch strategy of launching Shift, it was concentrated in Californian cities like the Bay Area and Los Angeles, San Diego, Orange County, Inland Empire. What was your decision to launch like that, and how has that contributed to this fast growth of Shift?
Yeah, so similar to Gary's company, our business is a massive industry, right? It's a $1.4 trillion, largest part of the American economy outside of real estate. So you don't need to capture a lot of market share to be a massive company, which is why I really like doing Shift, or one of the reasons I really like doing Shift. We believe that you can actually build a massive business that's like a $10+ billion publicly traded company in literally about 6 U.S. markets by capturing 2 to 3% market share in each market. We're about 1.5% in San Francisco today, in the Bay Area that is, and there's an almost unlimited amount of growth that you can do just in that market. So we said to ourselves, hey, focus on a few large markets and try to capture market share there instead of trying to go national into a lot of markets. Our competitors, we had 5 competitors that got started at the time when we launched. All of them took a national kind of push. 3 of them are now dead, and 1 is kind of half dead. So we think we made the right choice by not going to too many places and not spending money setting up a lot of operations in lots of different markets.
And so from this point on, how will you grow into new markets, and what is your strategy to launch new cities?
Yeah, so we built a partnership with Mannheim. Mannheim is a big auction house, where in new markets we actually just operate out of the Mannheim lot. Our cars are stored there. They do our reconditioning, and we just take cars out on test drives. That really reduces the complexity of launching a market because they do a lot of the stuff that's most complex. And so we'll probably launch 1 more market this year and then 4 markets next year.
Okay. And then Patrick, I mean, Duetto also, sensational growth. I think it's 120 employees, and you have offices in many cities across the U.S. and even in Europe, in Dubai, in Singapore, in Sydney, Australia. How has this growth been for a company that's targeting the hotel industry with the kind of data analytics for hotels? How have you grown so fast, so quickly, and with such strength?
So the global hotel industry is also quite large. If you include casinos and all the different hotel products, it's about a little over $1 trillion a year in revenue for those companies. For us, we had to go global very early because there's such concentration in North America by Marriott, Hilton, Hyatt, Starwood. Well, now that's part of Marriott, Intercontinental, and so on. And so unless you're ready to penetrate those biggest companies, most of the opportunity for us was actually outside the United States, where there's numerous smaller regional hotel brands that were the perfect size for us. And so probably one of the biggest challenges for us as a company was in year 2, us going global in a big way and doing so successfully. And so we're now starting to sell into the major chains, but only after we've actually hit scale in more than 70 countries around the world. And so it's had its management challenges, being able to manage that type of hiring and growth globally, but it's been very successful for us.
And on the point of growth, let's talk about how funding has helped you grow. I mean, you've all raised money. Some of you have raised a lot of money. I mean, everyone over $100 million. How has that contributed to the fast rise? And do you need to raise more money to keep these growth numbers in line? Yeah.
Sure, I'll go again. So we've raised over $130 million. That's more than I thought we were going to need to raise, frankly, to get to this point. We've spent a lot on research and development. It's a very complicated product with heavy data analytics on the back end, which data scientists are not particularly cheap, as you probably know. But also a lot of surface area of the product and integrations into a very long tail of on-prem technologies that hotels use. And then obviously the sales and marketing side is also quite expensive. And so we are on a path to get to profitability now, which doesn't mean that we won't raise more money to continue to grow quickly, but access to capital has been one of the most important aspects for us, where there have been $4 billion companies built within hotel software. None of them were founded within the last 30 years. And our ability to sort of break through that growth trajectory where hundreds of other companies have failed has been relatively unique to this point, and we intend to just keep it going one day at a time.
Yeah. And George, over 120 million raised, I think?
Yes, that's the public number.
Share the real number.
Not yet, but soon. I think, look, what I tell founders, this is my second company, and this is the experience I've had both times. Raise 2x what you think you'll raise, because everything's going to cost twice as much as you think it is, no matter how conservative you are in the model that you do. And so, that's just the reality. Costs have gone up a ton, especially in the Bay Area. I think this is one of the most fundamental challenges we face as an industry, as the startup industry, is that the place where all the innovation happens has become way too expensive for startups, just in the last 5 years. And so that makes stuff a lot harder as well. So for me, I've done probably, a dozen deals as an angel investor. A key criteria always is, will the founder be able to go raise capital, more capital? Because things are just really expensive, and you'll need a lot more money than you will.
And Gary, I think you have an interesting observation on how to raise a lot of money, and you did it. And
yeah, so we've raised, compared to these guys, not that much, $75 million. And we've been around for 3 years. Yes. So we overcapitalize the business, but my philosophy is always raise money 6 months or more before you actually really want to raise money. Not 6 months before you run out of money, but 6 months before you want to actually start a process. And I would say that power shifts between entrepreneurs and investors over time. Right now, power is squarely with the entrepreneurs, and it's a really attractive time to raise capital. So my advice is back up the truck when there is money available, and don't focus so much on dilution, because most companies that run out of money go out of business, right? So the key as CEOs and founders is making sure the businesses are well capitalized, because, as George says, it always takes longer and costs more than you think.
Yeah. In your case, it's interesting because you're a property tech company. You're also a fintech company. You, as all of you, you have a huge total addressable market. You've had a track record. You've raised lots of money. So how are you going to just keep this momentum going now with what you've got? And is it awareness? Like, I notice. Let's just shift to a question about marketing and advertising and just general PR. You've all gotten some, but it's not been the core of any of your companies to take you off this course, right? So maybe just talk about how to keep this thing in line from a media perspective.
Yeah, so for us, one of the reasons I got excited about starting this business, by the way, marketplaces are so hard to start because you have to get both the supply and the demand going. But that's why they're so valuable if you can get them going. But once you do get them going, they're harder to kill, right? So you really have to lean in and start aggressively. So the reason that I was comfortable starting this was I had real relationships in the industry on the supply side, so I knew we had that nailed. And as an investor, I was running a public REIT, I knew what the pain points were as a client trying to sell. So I think from a fundraising standpoint, kind of understanding those pain points and having the relationships really helped not only with the fundraising, but de-risking the launch of the business.
What convinced me to get into this space, given all of its complexity, was the fact that in the beginning you could start by only focusing on one side of the marketplace, which was the supply, because you could use existing channels of demand generation to get buyers. So there are three vertical search engines, Cars.com, AutoTrader, and CarGurus, where you can go get demand. And it's not the best demand in the world because those people are more price sensitive than the ones that come directly to you. But you could at least get a market going by using them. And so we've been able to scale in new markets primarily by using these listing sites to get a customer base. And then over time, people start coming directly to you through word of mouth. So we do spend some money on marketing, but very limited compared to our competitors, about 1/4 per car sold versus a traditional dealer.
And it seems like you're partnering very effectively, like you mentioned with Manheim, so you're leveraging the opportunity.
Yeah, we have a great partnership with Manheim and their parent company, Cox. BMW also led our most recent funding round, so we have obviously a close relationship there. And there's a ton of opportunity with OEMs to do a lot of cool things, I think, over time.
And Patrick, is it content marketing or is it demand generation marketing?
Yeah, so we've invested an unusually large amount on content marketing. The hotel industry, for the most part, we believe, was thinking the wrong way about distribution and pricing, not really properly understanding what the shifts were going to be over the next decade. And so, for instance, we have hundreds of videos that we've created that are not primarily advertising. They're primarily education for hoteliers to establish ourselves in a scalable way as the trusted advisor to hoteliers throughout the world. And they can be done in their local languages with our people on the ground who understand their markets and sort of speak their language. And so that's where we've made an unusually large investment and made a real sort of emotional connection with hoteliers. We attempted demand gen marketing, sort of traditional demand gen, and it was just driving the wrong sort of customer. It was driving really, really small boutique hotels as well as very junior people in those organizations. And we found that being introduced to, a 22-year-old intern, who was there, who was then trying to refer us to the CEO, was not the right entry point to those companies to actually successfully converting those accounts. Whereas now we have a much more account-based marketing approach where we're targeting C-level executives from the top 500 companies in the world, and the tests on that have been exceptionally positive, and so we're quadrupling spend in that sort of account-based marketing approach.
I would just like to add also, we talked about this a little bit before the panel, is the use of data science and AI for customer acquisition and to improve conversion is really huge. For example, we mapped all 16 million rental homes in the country, and we know who owns them, what the homes are worth, what the rents are, and how to contact those people. So we could reach out to them either through traditional means or Facebook with really targeted ads, and it makes for a much more efficient way to acquire customers on both sides rather than more traditional advertising, which doesn't work very well.
Okay. And we're out of time, but last question for George quickly. You mentioned the costs of operating in the Bay Area, even companies that have raised a lot of capital. What is your strategy or advice for retaining and hiring talent and reducing the churn of this top talent as you grow your company over the next few years?
Give people a lot of equity and make it vest over a longer period of time. So I think next time I do a company, I'm going to do a 4-year vest on anyone. I'm going to ask for a 6-year vest, but for much larger grants. Because I think that's the only way to keep amazing engineering talent to stay with you is to have them be kind of very bought into the business. And then secondly, I think we're going to have to do a lot more of putting certain teams outside of the Bay Area. So keep engineering in the Bay Area, but everything else that doesn't have to be there will need to be somewhere else because the costs are just getting out of control.
Awesome. So that's great for the panel. I want to see all three of you in Toronto next year, and everyone here. We love homes, cars, and hotels just as much as anyone else does. So we'll see you there. A big round of applause for this panel.
Thank you.
Thank you.